Donkey Kong is one of the most well-known characters in all of gaming. From his iconic Donkey Kong Country series to his inclusion in the Mario Sports and Mario Kart games, almost everyone who knows what a video game is knows who Donkey Kong is. What has caused him to be so loved in the real world are the same aspects that have caused him to be so loved and played in Smash. DK hosts a massive variety of strong and powerful moves alongside one of the most fun playstyles to play. DK does not worry about camping or careful spacing, but rather holds forward and wants to play a constant offensive game. While he does have some downfalls such as his slow moves and big body, he makes up for it with the strength and spikes. Donkey Kong has been working his way into the prominent side of the competitive scene throughout many games, as we seek to answer if he did so successfully. Today we will be analyzing his moves, results, strengths, and weaknesses as we take a deep dive into Donkey Kong as a Smash Bros. Fighter. Donkey Kong's strengths come from his interesting and unique Smash archetype as a mix between a heavy and a grappler. This means that DK is great up close, as he can pressure with strong hits and also grabs that lead into extremely damaging combos or straight up kills. On the stage, he can approach with his lightning fast back air or other burst options to get in on the opponent, because when he does, he gets a large reward. Whether it is using side B to bury his opponent into a neutral B punch or a smash attack, or using any of his 4 spikes off stage, DK's offensive capability is extremely strong. His grab game is also excellent, as he can use his cargo throw to carry opponents off the stage to a place that they cannot recover from and win matchups that he would clearly lose in the neutral game. Or he can just stage spike them, giving the opposing player an execution check. He also has insane combos such as the infamous Ding Dong off a cargo up throw to get really early kills. Whether he's trying to land some huge hit or grab the opponent to their doom, Donkey Kong excels at the short range and beats almost every other character here due to his unique heavy grappler archetype mixture. Furthermore, his extreme weight allows him to live for a while and survive damaging combos with ease. While DK is a great character up close, this interesting archetype leads to some pretty massive problems outside this range. The biggest weakness that Donkey Kong has are his size, slow moves, and poor recovery. Outside of the close-range game, Donkey Kong is at a major disadvantage due to his sheer size and lack of a projectile. DK players need to work hard to maneuver this giant ape around other characters' zoning tools in the long and mid-ranges of the stage. It is also hard for him to win neutral and transition into his great advantage state due to his slow moves. Other than his quick back air, almost all of DK's moves are extremely slow and make him get beat out by other characters' faster options up close. Finally, Donkey Kong's bad recovery is his spinning Kong. This move has good horizontal distance, but barely any vertical distance, and leaves the top of his head open to be spiked or just hit in general. One simple edge guard can destroy this character. Overall, while he does have a great advantage, both his disadvantage and neutral are not the greatest and are true downfalls of Donkey Kong's playstyle. Throughout the life cycle of Smash 64, Donkey Kong has always been viewed as on the lower end of the tier list. Despite being unique from the rest of the cast, as he was the only heavy in the roster, it was actually this fact that caused his competitive demise. In the very first competitive Smash 64 tier list, Donkey Kong ranked 9th out of the total 12 characters and was in the low tier, only beating out Luigi, Samus, and Link. The reason for his poor placement was due to his size and recovery. Especially in a game where combos play such an important role, having a large physical size was quite harmful. In addition, for good or for bad, he is also the heaviest character in the game. While that does help him stay alive longer, he can get comboed on and followed up on longer, as he gets launched less distance and therefore is easier to follow up on for combos. However, he did have some great positive aspects to keep him out of the bottom of the list. DK, as typical with heavies, has great damage output in his moves, For example, his neutral B punch can do 36% while fully charged. He also has 2 spikes in his forward and down air that could help him in his edge guarding game. In addition, he's kind of fast in terms of the other Smash 64 characters. Furthermore, throughout this time, people began to understand Donkey Kong as a grappler character, with not only his long-ranged grab and cargo throw, but also with his grab-release strings. These positive aspects were noticed in the time between the first and second tier lists, and Donkey Kong went from 9th to 7th. Not the biggest jump, but for a large character like DK who is at a natural disadvantage in a crazy combo game as Smash 64, it was a large improvement. However, sadly his increase in position was less due to a realization of his strengths, but more of an understanding of Ness's and Jigglypuff's weaknesses at the time. Things began to solidify in the competitive Smash 64 scene as their 3rd tier list had Donkey Kong in the same spot as before, with the only difference being his tier, which was changed due to Pikachu needing his own tier. Sadly, however, this memo changed in the last and final tier list for the game, where DK was ranked back down to 9th in C tier, under Samus and above Ness, Link, and Luigi. This was due to the strengths of the top tiers walling out DK. His terrible vertical recovery just did not fit the job in this game. Poor shield cover, and therefore less hit stun, and just overall size put him in a bad position in Smash 64. As for the results in Smash 64 with Donkey Kong, they are a little lacking in this game, but are more than some might think at first. In the beginning of the game's competitive lifecycle, the Japanese player Amasawa was the best DK main, and actually did well against the good competitors. While he is retired now, he does have a win off of Isaiah, one of the best Smash 64 players of all time, back in 2006. He even coined the term Amasawa Loop, a way to assist DK on the ledge. As for more recent history, players have now begun to use Donkey Kong's down B and down air setups to get damage and kills, such as Clubba Dubba, who with Donkey Kong as his main character, got a 13th in Apex 2015 and a 17th at SmashCon 2018. In addition, Lorenzo has had some other more modern results with his 17th at Get On My Level 2017. These 3 have kept Donkey Kong alive in the meta throughout the ages in a game whose engine does not favor him at all. Throughout the change from Smash 64 to Melee, DK got quite a few moveset alterations. First off, with the change from the first game to the second, there were a couple of global moveset additions that affected him, such as the addition of an up throw, down throw, and side B, which is now his headbutt attack. Aside from new additions to his moveset, Donkey Kong had a couple changes. First off was the swapping of his forward tilt from a punch to a swipe. While this move is a little bit faster than its previous iteration, it does less damage, which was a welcome addition to get a good fast ground normal in DK's moveset, which allowed him to compete with the faster characters in Melee. Furthermore, Donkey Kong also got a new forward smash, which changed from a punch to a clap, which got a similar treatment to his forward tilt as it became faster but a little weaker as well. The next moveset change was his down smash, which became a double-fisted smash into the ground from the breakdancing-like move it was beforehand. Next was his back air, which went from a slow double-footed kick behind him to a quick single-footed kick, and became one of, if not Donkey Kong's best moves in Melee, and going for it. His up air also changed from an overhead slap to a headbutt upwards, which was a lot faster, but had more lag at the end of the move. His down air was also changed in aesthetic, but that was about it. The final change that DK got to his moveset was the addition of a new aspect to his cargo throw. When DK forward throws an opponent and cargo carries them, he now has the addition of a new set of 3 throws, an up throw, a back throw, and a down throw, that all have their own purpose in killing and comboing. Overall, DK's moveset from Smash 64 to Melee went from one of a strong and slow character to a little bit of a quicker but weaker one who can still pack a massive punch. One of the biggest downfalls from DK's first to second appearance was the change of the engine between Melee and Smash 64. Melee was a significantly faster game than 64, where all characters had much better movement options, combos were long and fast due to high hit stun, despite being reduced from Smash 64. And while it might seem that a speed increase would help every character, this actually harmed DK, due to it being a global change for all characters. While he was faster, this change benefited other characters such as Fox, Jigglypuff, and Captain Falcon more than it did Donkey Kong, because it made them have an easier time comboing and getting hits on him. Donkey Kong would lose in neutral and then be taken for a ride with his poor disadvantage state, which resulted in him getting comboed for entire matches. The other major change that punished DK was the increased ability to edgeguard. With other characters being so mobile, almost everyone on the cast was great at keeping Donkey Kong off the stage. DK's newly nerfed up B was way too linear, which allowed it to get caught by edge guards, and he did not have the recovery distance to make it back either. Overall, Donkey Kong is not a horrible character by himself. He just had trouble with the oppressive top tiers, which lowered him on the list. At the beginning of Melee's competitive lifecycle, Donkey Kong was viewed similarly to his Smash 64 counterpart, just too slow to be able to perform highly in the intense competitive scene. Therefore, on the first tier list, he was ranked 20th out of the game's 26 characters alongside Yoshi, who was heavily underrated at the time. Donkey Kong's slow speed was just too much of a downside compared to the top tier speed, in both their movement and moves, as DK got walled out by Marth's sword, comboed by Sheik, and outplayed by Fox and Falco's. Over the next few years, as players were truly discovering the crazy tech of Melee, and the scene got more specialized and better overall, Donkey Kong's spot on the tier list rapidly declined. He began at 20th place on the first tier list in October of 2002, and ended up in 22nd on the 5th tier list not even a year later, in the following September of 2003. As the upper meta developed, nobody found a reason to play DK, and found that he could just not compete with the high tier characters who he would eventually run into in a bracket. However, in the 7th tier list in 2005, things started to change, as DK's rank went from 16th and even rose to 13th in 2008, barely making the top half of the roster. This was due to the dedication of the Donkey Kong mains finding broken tech about the character, and transitioning him from a total heavy archetype to more of a grappler with his cargo throw. He had trouble getting in, but when he did, DK would put on a show if he could get one single grab. He became more of a combo character from this change of his great grab, and he boosted up the tier list. Over time, DK slightly fell and ended in a solid 16th place in C- tier in the 2020 Melee tier list. But despite not being the best character, dedicated mains proved DK's worth in Melee. One of the first DK mains in Melee was Bum, who got a 4th at MLG Long Island back in 2007 with Donkey Kong, and had other similar results back then as well. Next up is the previous best DK player in the world, Green Ranger. He placed 13th at Pound 5 using solo DK, and has beaten players such as Duck and DJ Nintendo with DK as well. The other best DK player in the world would be Fishit, who placed 9th at Zenith 2014 and 33rd at both a stacked EVO 2013 and the Big House 4. While there have not been many DK mains, they have been dedicated and helped evolve the character out of total obscurity in Melee for the past few years. Between Brawl and Melee, Donkey Kong did not have very many changes to his moves, but he did have changes to his overall gameplay. Donkey Kong ended up getting a lot more range on his moves, which allowed him to totally outspace some characters, and even some of the important top tiers in his polarizing game. Most of his moves also got increased in speed, but more importantly, they got their end lag heavily reduced. He could even perform 2 back airs in a single short hop, which allowed him to approach with his quick back air. The greatest change between the 2nd and 3rd Smash game for DK is the slower game speed. The cast overall got slower, and combos began to diminish as the hits done in the game was greatly reduced. This improved DK's game a lot, as he would be able to air dodge out of combos, and his disadvantage state got a lot better despite his big size, one of the most troubling aspects of his in Melee. 2 more extreme important changes for DK are his Invincicopter and the addition of Dacus. The first of the 2 techs allows Donkey Kong to perform an invincible grounded up B, which was not only a great movement option for him, but was also a completely invincible attack, which benefited him greatly. The other tech was the addition of Dacus, or Dash Attack Cancelled Up Smash, which allowed characters to slide along the ground while performing an up smash, and this generally helped DK cover more distance with his moves, and gave him a much better time getting in on his opponent. In the first tier list for Brawl, created in 2008, Donkey Kong was ranked in high tier, at 10th place out of the total 37 characters on the roster. At the beginning of the game's competitive scene, DK's range and quick back air caused him to rise to the top in terms of competitive opinion. However, this quickly changed. As the game got more of a competitive life cycle, DK's tier list ranking began to fall quickly, but not terribly. Over the next 2 years, Donkey Kong dropped to the 20th place with the understanding that some of his major flaws with the top tiers were just too much to overhandle. He could get easily chain grabbed by King Dedede and other characters such as Olimar and Snake, who would purely beat him out with projectiles and not allow him to play the game. Therefore, in 2012, Donkey Kong would have his lowest placement on the tier list at 23rd, at E tier alongside characters such as Sonic, Ike, and Sheik, and finished at 21st in the final tier list. As for his matchups, DK struggled most with the top tiers, as most mid to low tier characters did in Brawl. But he did have some surprisingly good or even matchups, such as against Marth, whose range really did not apply much in this matchup as Donkey Kong had just as much range with his sword-like limbs. Finally, while this matchup would rarely happen in a tournament, DK did have a great time against Ness and Lucas players, as he had a great grab release setup that allowed him to get free damage and almost a 0 to death off of one grab. Since DK was a mid-tier character in Brawl, a game that was the most polarizing in the series with its top tiers, he did not get very many results, but there were a few dedicated players who evolved his meta. The first and most popular is DK Will, the best Brawl DK player ever. He has a huge record of high tournament placings considering the game he plays, and the matchups he must constantly endure. Alongside DK Will is another DK player, DK Bill, a Canadian DK who has wins such as a 25th at Apex 2015 and a 7th on Get On My Level 2016 with solo DK. Finally, the last great Brawl DK player is Bum, the melee DK player, who actually has wins over players such as DeBuzz, Nairo, and Anti with DK. After many years of waiting and pushing for a good spot on the tier list, Donkey Kong's day finally came with Smash 4. Donkey Kong got 3 major changes to his game that allowed him to become a viable contender in this game. The first was the crazy addition of the invincibility to DK's arms and legs on most of his moves. This essentially turned DK's limbs truly into swords and made him rely even more on spacing, and not just running in and attacking. The second larger change to his moveset is the change of his dash attack from the wimpy kick to the somersault roll he does now. This move actually became viable for the first time and was quite useful as a dash attack since it had immensely less end lag than the prior iteration. He also got an aerial version of his down B. But the greatest buff to Donkey Kong as a character in this game was the addition of Ding Dong into his combo game. With a cargo up throw, DK could jump off a platform and, using rage, kill characters with an up air at really low percents, leading to quick games. This meant that DK became the best grappler in the game, as he could either Ding Dong his opponents or stage spike them with a cargo throw, or even just jump off the stage with them and make them not recover. This newly buffed grab and cargo throw made DK into one of the more potent grapplers in Smash 4, and a seriously scary character to fight. In the switch from Brawl to Smash 4, DK got a full change in playstyle. He shifted away from the typical heavy archetype into more of a grappler with a small heavy aspect. He would always try to approach where he could either get the grab for a Ding Dong setup as his main option, or read an opposing player's escape from the grab option with a strong hit. This made DK one of the most scary characters to fight, because his game plan was so simple, yet so complex. All he wanted was one grab, and he was going to dash over to you in order to get it, and he would either get it, or hit the opposing player in their escape option. Either way, the downfall of DK's game plan in Smash 4, like always, was zoners and rushdown characters. If he could not approach or was too busy worried about being approached, then DK's plan fell apart. But when he got what he wanted, it made him a very threatening character. DK began his Smash 4 life as a solid mid-tier. Pretty early on in the game's life cycle, DK was granted with his famous Ding Dong combo through a patch, which rocketed his placings way up. Prior to that buff, however, DK was seen as a relatively low-tier character, since his buffs from Brawl just did not constitute to that much competitively, as the addition of real long combos back into the game hurt heavily. With the 1.1.0 patch early in the game, DK was able to cargo up throw into up air or Ding Dong opponents at extremely low percentages and get easy kills off of one grab. This meant that on the first tier list created on February 1st in 2016, DK ranked 27th out of a total 56 characters and sat in a solid E tier out of J tiers. He was not the best by any means due to his pretty linear game plan, but once his plan of Ding Donging you at low percents worked, it really worked. The next tier list showed Donkey Kong getting a little improvement due to the downfall of characters such as Pit, Dark Pit, and Peach. This slightly resulted from the addition of Bayonetta to the game, as DK was a character who could easily kill her off of one grab due to her lightweight, but he would get comboed easily. However, so would the rest of the cast. This gave DK a better matchup and boosted him in the rankings at a bit. While he did have a little dip in 2017, the final tier list in December of 2017 ranked him at 22nd at the top of C tier alongside Olimar and Toon Link. This meant that DK had performed well and had good results with his game plan, as seen in the following results section. Unlike prior games, there were actually many people who made the top 100 in the power rankings by either solo maining or using DK as a secondary. The most notable player who used him is Tweak, who secondary Donkey Kong for some matchups that his main at the time could not win. He took sets off Zero and MKLeo using him in the set at one point. As for solo mains, Donkey Kong's greatest player was Conga. With results such as a 2nd at Don't Park on the Grass and a 7th at DreamHack at Austin, he earned his 76th placing on the final PR, as is known as the best DK player in Smash 4. Alongside Conga were Hikaru, the best Japanese DK who ranked 48th in the PR, and DK Will from before, who earned himself a 1st at Don't Park the Grass, beating Conga in the Donkey Kong Ditto. Overall, from his huge use of ding-dongs, DK skyrocketed in skill and rankings in this game due to his new combos. In the final swap from Smash 4 to Smash Bros. Ultimate, DK received some quality of life changes, but nothing major to any of his moves. The most important changes, however, came to his 4 special moves. As for his neutral B, Giant Punch, DK no longer goes into freefall after using it, so he can use it off stage and still recover as a strong edgeguarding reading tool. Next, his side B got a pretty major buff, in that it now holds super armor for the startup of the move. This is great because it gives DK a way to combat all of the characters trying to outspeed him and start at the time for their moves, and he can also absorb their attacks and still punish. His up B got buffed, in that it is way more feasible as a killing move on the ground with its immense super armor and extreme power. Hitting this move on the stage can cause an easy death at higher percents. Finally, his down B got buffed, in that it now became an interesting landing mix-up option due to its reduced end lag in its aerial form. This allows it to make the new We Will Rock You combo from aerial down B into up smash. While DK did not get any of his moves completely changed, Ultimate's new engine, compared to Smash 4's, did allow for some buffs and nerfs as well. The biggest change was DK's loss of a consistent ding-dong setup from both the reduction of rage and the loss of the combo in general, which meant that DK now had to work harder for every kill and could not get away with a single grab to make death, despite it still being possible on some stages like PS2. The next alteration from a global change was the increased movement speed and reduction to ending lag on aerials. This is an interesting change to the game, as it both benefits DK but not as much as other characters, and it might actually be considered a nerf in comparison to the rest of the cast. DK just does not use landing aerials as much as other members of the cast, other than his back air, and that means that this buff was better for others than DK. While he did lose some of his identity from Smash 4, he gained a new one, and different ways to use that cargo throw to his advantage. Despite there not being any official tier list in Smash Ultimate, the community has a relatively set idea of where characters are placed on the tier list. As for Donkey Kong, he is not viewed very highly. However, in a game like Ultimate where every character is definitely viable, his placement does not mean he is an obscure character by any means. By most people's rankings, DK is in the low, but not bottom tier of his 5th iteration in Smash. DeBuzz and Esam both put him in the low tier, with my own personal opinion agreeing with that sentiment. While he is a good character, his poor recovery and ease to be comboed do not help him out at all. He can overwhelm some characters with strong moves, super armor, and great grabs, but he gets punished hard for some overcommitments. Overall, DK's placing is not great, but that does not mean he does not have the ability to get some great results. Especially in the online era, DK's ability, like most heavies, increased and allowed for some great online play with the character. DK's Ultimate results have been split into 3 main players. While there were tons of DK players in Smash Ultimate, these 3 have dominated the DK scene at one point and have been developing the character with their new tech and performances. First of these is, to no surprise, DK Will. He kept the same main from Brawl in Smash 4 and continued on the path using Donkey Kong in this game. He placed 25th at GOMLD 2019 and had a great performance online, as well as placing highly in the Frame Perfect series hosted by Mewtwo King. Next up is Hikaru from Smash 4, who was the highest ranked player using Donkey Kong. He did not main DK, but used him as a secondary, sometimes placing well with him. The final extremely important player performed in the online era, Chunky Kong. In his time online, Chunky Kong was ranked 44th in the Wi-Fi rankings and placed well in the many online tournaments and showed how great Donkey Kong was online. Overall, throughout the entire time of Smash Ultimate, DK remained a threat, but was never able to push to the next barrier. He was always viable, but was never able to take the next step. Donkey Kong. While not one of the best characters in the series, definitely has some real history in all 5 of the Smash games he was playable in. He might not bring the top tier level of playing to the table, but he definitely brings the hype. In Smash 64, he was barely playable due to the engine not favoring heavies at all. In Melee, his speed improved and he was a solid mid-tier pick. In Brawl, Donkey Kong kept getting better and had some winning matchups against some of the best characters. In Smash 4, DK became this heavy grappler archetype who could use ding-dongs to snatch some early kills. And finally, in Ultimate, DK is one of the most fun heavies to play with a respectable ground game and advantage state. Overall, Donkey Kong is one of the most fun characters to play in the series, and whether it be from his kill setups, strong moves, or ridiculously fun super armor, DK is a staple of the Smash competitive scene.